Okay, let's do it.
All right, go. Okay, go ahead. Whatever.
Hey guys, welcome to Nintendo Dad's After Dark. On tonight's episode, we are talking Star Wars, a Rogue One story. That's not right. It's Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Plus, so much more. Not really. Actually, not much more at all. Just Dave Moore here talking with it as well, because he likes to join into our podcast, because he's like the guy who podcasts about everything. He's kind of like the master of podcasts. He's on every channel, really. But we are going to talk about Rogue One. Oh, by the way, spoilers. If you haven't seen it, just pause, go see it, then come back. But it is spoiler free. You have been warned. In 3, 2, 1. Start up, Zach.
Welcome to Nintendo Dad's After Dark episode. What is this? Episode 9, something like that.
11.
Episode 11. What? Whatever it is. Welcome to Nintendo Dad's After Dark. My name is Zach Erickson. Tonight it's actually December 22nd now. It was the 21st when we started recording our last episode. But that's okay. It's 12:24 a.m. Mountain Standard Time.
The only time zone that matters.
Yep. And this is Zach Erickson. Joining me tonight that's Justin Masson.
Howdy, sir.
Joining us as well, Jesse Waldeck.
Now, do you recall that our Star Wars episode 7 was After Dark episode 7?
What?
Ooh.
Very cool. Joining us as well, Marty Estes. What's going on, Marty?
I'm tired.
Yeah.
That is fair.
I'm tired, but I love Star Wars.
Yep, absolutely. And joining us as well, Dave Moore from DaceSpace.com, a million podcasts.
He is the hardest working man in podcasts, is what he is.
Did you not
just say you recorded 6 podcasts today? Well, it
was supposed to be 4, but we won't say who I was also supposed to talk non-spoilerly with, decided to move it to possibly tomorrow. That's not confirmed or denied. I don't know. We'll find out.
Somebody bumped you, Dave?
So I had to sit and watch your guys' live show and get angry.
Oh, I like how he had to watch our live show.
So we're a consolation now.
Wait. Now let's have a conversation about this really quick, because
he's being too chummy with Sean and Bobby.
Go hang out in New York, guys. You're our best friend.
Someone in the live show chat did say that they wish he had a kid so he could get on and fix the list.
That is John. John, see. Here's the thing. John is my co-host. He's biased. That doesn't count. Number 2, you guys were going in some crazy directions on that list there until the end. I'm gonna say that. And that was the best part, is the chat's going, hello, do you see the chat? And then they were like, I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell somebody to read the chat if they're not looking at the chat. And we're going down this rabbit hole of nonsense where you guys are like thinking that like Fire Emblem Fates even deserves to be considered. I don't even know how that got on there.
Yeah, it's I have a feeling that between the time that we've recorded this and the time that this episode airs, there will be words had. I look forward to the discussion online and to seeing your own damn lists. Moving on. So what I want to say, so we're here to talk about Star Wars tonight, and I have a feeling that tonight's controversy has not ended yet. I'm just going to put it that way.
A
Star Wars story came out, and I want to say I saw it opening, or when did I see it? Saturday night? Yeah, Saturday night. And it was, I enjoyed it at the time. And since then, I really feel like as it has simmered and settled, I feel more and more weird about it. I don't know. Anyways,
he listened to Hotline Monday and listened to Justin Robert Young and his opinion, and it soured you, Zach. That's
no,
what
it
happened.
Didn't, because it was putting words to several things that I already was thinking at the time. Like, okay, just by the way, if you haven't seen the movie, spoiler warning. I think Justin said that at the beginning. Marty, I want to start with you, dude.
Okay.
How did you feel about, and I think that this is important to even frame it in how we enjoyed The Force Awakens, because I think that that's an important discussion with how we kind of see Rogue One.
I will completely agree with that because I guess now that since Star Wars is going to be a yearly presence in theaters, that last year we began what is becoming a yearly tradition, which is I went and saw this with some of the guys from Reactor Radio and other friends from the area. We went to the 7 p.m. Thursday show of The Force Awakens, as well as the 7 p.m. Thursday show of Rogue One. And the first immediate thing that we noticed was, whereas there was not a seat to be had in The Force Awakens, there were plenty of empty seats in Rogue One.
Yeah, I noticed that in my viewing too.
And I'll be real honest with you, I was completely surprised that there were. The other thing that I noticed was, whereas in The Force Awakens, there were people in that theater who were audibly clapping, cheering, raising their hands in victory, having these emotional reactions to the Force Awakens. There was none of that in Rogue One. And so here's what I will say. I don't think, and we can get into this a little bit more as we talk, because I want to let everybody else have a chance to share. I don't think that you can compare The Force Awakens and Rogue One fairly.
Okay.
And I'm going to float that out there, and I'm going to let it hang for a little bit and let y'all think about it, and then we can pick back up on it later.
Okay. I like it. Justin.
I 100% agree with Marty. I don't think
Jesse.
you can. I don't think you can compare Rogue One to A Force Awakens. It was a new story. It was a new area. It was meant to be gritty. It was meant to be dramatic. It was meant to be a war film. And I think Gareth Edwards created that for us. We know the Star Wars, the universe, the world. We've been to these planets a billion times. We know the characters. But he took new things that we did not know and created a compelling story that showed the day-to-day groundwork that was being done to create a fall of the Empire. And they were also daring enough to create a story where no one that we sort of eventually kind of begin to care about actually lives in the end.
Okay, well,
right?
wait.
With the idea that we already knew how this was going to end.
Okay, Justin, I want you to say, rewind for a second. I want you to say how you said how you cared about those characters again, and you will get to possibly the crux of my criticism of this movie.
I agree that we do not build a lot of a story arc with the characters to genuinely have a heartfelt moment when they do die. You very quickly begin to realize that, and perhaps there's a psychology part of it, of beginning to create some guards and some distance between the fact that you very quickly do identify these folks are going to die. They ain't coming back. You've probably got some betting pool on who's going to die. Maybe not all of them, but good portion of them are going to. But I do agree that the connective tissues of why we're vested in them were thin at times, but enough that we still have to move forward in this.
Is it bad that I cared about the robot more than a couple of the humans?
No.
Couple.
That's not a problem. That's not a problem.
I think I agree with you there, too.
Tell me somebody you cared more about than the robot.
There isn't a person. That's the problem. But
I would say Jin.
Okay.
Her and the monk.
The blind monk.
Okay, the monk. I'm going to say that, I'm going to put this out there. The monk, the blind monk, was to me the most interesting character in that entire movie. Yep. I think that he showed something about the Force, and he's one of my big highlights of the whole movie was Force monks. I think like that concept is awesome, and I would love to see more of Force monks in the future or whatever they call it.
That's-
You know, I think that's
That's a thing.
like non-Jedi Force users. What's her name from Force Awakens? Orange Yoda with the goggles.
Maz Kanata.
There you go, Maz
Maz Kanata.
right?
Oh,
And I guess
Sorry.
Leia is also like a non-Jedi Force user or whatever, right? Supposedly, although we've never seen it. I think that
I don't buy that.
cool. Or she's just sensitive to it or whatever.
Well, that's the new
I would
term
make-
that they're using. And if you'll remember back when they began to really delve into the details of Force Awakens as they, pumped it up for release, they were talking about Force sensitive, that we're going to be dealing with people who are Force sensitive, that aren't Force users. They can feel the Force or whatever. And I think you see that in all three of the quote unquote main characters of the Force Awakens. You see it in Finn. You see it in Rey, who I think is most undoubtedly a Jedi, or on her path to be one. And then Poe Dameron, who, how can he fly like that? Well, duh, he can feel the Force,
I
but
think
Chirrut and in this movie, he's got to be a Force sensitive individual,
Right. But I think the thing that makes him so compelling, not only being the Force monk, is his relationship with his friend, right? His relationship with kind of his warrior bodyguard, right? That he's got with him. I think that's the relationship, that's the partnership, that's the part
You
that
almost shot me.
emotionally, that emotionally you create that bond to, right? Like when he realized that his friend is dying, he basically understands right there and then that he too shall die on that beach with him in some kind of way, right? And we see it in the actions. That's the emotional attachment that we have. When Jin and what's his name dies on the beach at the end, I don't really care that much. But really that tightened relationship, or even
Am I
the
losing
pilot.
just Justin or am I losing everybody?
I
Hello?
haven't had any
I think you
problems.
lost everybody because Justin sounds fine.
It's all you,
Sorry,
chump.
go ahead. My internet's just being weird. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, I think that's where the relationship is, that we begin to genuinely care about these people. Dave, go to you.
Okay.
So here's the thing. I agree in the sense that I don't think we should compare The Force Awakens to Rogue One, because they are two completely different stories and serve completely different purposes. There's one comparison I'm going to make, and I kind of made it on my show, but the biggest problem with Rogue One, and it's really my only problem with the movie, is in the first 5 minutes of Force Awakens, I cared about everybody. I was cheering for them to get out of there, as they're flying the X-Wing, like right on board. Like I'm with Finn and I'm with Poe, and I'm like, you guys can do this. Like I'm on board. Like let's fly the X-Wing out of here. Rogue One doesn't open with a reason to me for her attached to Jin, right? Sure, her dad gets kidnapped and taken away to build the Death Star, but like, I don't know if I care about Jin. Like,
But I guess my question to you in that, Dave, is the reason that you care about Finn and Poe and Rey, is it because they're tangentially, they're connected to the larger connective tissue of the characters of Han and Luke, and that through storyline, they're going to come in, that universe, they're part of that rebellion that you've already associated yourself with. Zach, stop shaking your head. Do you
and that's
like
not,
is that?
But Zach's shaking his head in the correct response is because in that first opening, I don't know if they're related in any way, shape, or form. These are completely new characters.
But
To
like,
me, at that moment,
you did know they were related, because you already knew that Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill were back in the movie. You knew you were going to see them at some point.
yeah, but here's the
So
thing, though.
that puts you at ease in the theater to be able to accept these new characters.
I
Here's
don't.
the thing is within those first moments of the movie, I think what you're saying is that what we saw on screen with this stormtrooper who watches his friend die and then doesn't kill everybody, and like those moments without saying anything, Finn was instantly a very relatable character. where you're like, man, he's got something going on. There's an emotional core to this character. Whereas Jyn, I mean, her crazy neglectful mother says, hey, go hide in this hole for a while. And then Forrest Whitaker finds her later, and she's not she just sits there in this thing. And I know there's this sort of, like she's so scared that she just is frozen, and that I get it.
It's not unbelievable. It's just not extremely relatable.
It's not. There's no emotional.
It is harder to relate to Jyn Erso as a character than it is to Finn.
Yeah, and I think that, there's been lots of stuff said on the internet this past, several days of how much of Jyn Erso's character was likely changed in reshoots and things like that. Especially go and watch the original Rogue One trailer.
I'm a rebel. I rebel. Never got ran.
Yeah,
and
right.
Well, there's a line from Forrest Whitaker too that never gets used. That what will you become?
Yeah,
Well done, sir.
Wow.
Well, he can't breathe. I have asthma. It comes naturally.
But yeah. By the way, can we talk for a minute, just about this character, about Forrest Whitaker's character, whatever his name is,
Saul Guerrera?
Could we talk about his decision to not run? Like, I will not run. He wasn't running from the enemy. He wasn't refusing to not run from the enemy. He was refusing to run from a wave of death from that explosion of the Death Star. Right?
I don't think he could have made it.
But he didn't even try. Right?
I think he knew that. I think he knew that there was no way he was going to make it.
I'm not convinced.
The interesting part about this, that is that it was announced today. He is going to, his character is going to show up on Star Wars Rebels.
Yeah.
When does Star Wars Rebels take place?
It takes place between Episode 3 and Episode 4.
It's 5 years before Episode 4.
And the cool part about it is that there are allusions to Star Wars Rebels within Rogue One that fans caught.
Isn't the ship in that final battle?
The ship is in the final battle. Their droid Chopper is in a scene where he's clearly seen. It's very briefly when they take off from the base, when they're leaving. When the crew of Rogue One's going to Scarif, you hear them paging somebody, and it says paging General Syndulla, and that's Hera Syndulla, who's the captain of the Ghost.
Oh, cool.
And that to me, see, I think I hated that when I found out that Rogue One was going to be what it was, because I thought, well, there goes Rebels. Because to me, Star Wars Rebels is the best Star Wars fiction that's been put out in the last 5 years.
But I think they were careful to keep, because Rebels is canonical, according to the now Disney Grandmasters. And, of course, as is Rogue One. So I'm sure they were careful to not have them stepped on their toes too much. And then as we find out at the end where Rogue One fits in the storyline,
which is immediately before.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's my main criticism.
Much further in the future than 5 years behind.
Yeah. I just found it really kind of worst character in the movie. I guess I'll go with this. Worst character in the movie is knockoff Han Solo.
Cassian,
who has no personality, no, the most boring, uninteresting character I think I have seen in a Star Wars movie ever. I
don't know about that.
I don't. There was nothing to that character. He was paper thin. What was going on for that character at all, other than I am a pilot and I am part of the rebellion? What else was he? Didn't have any
Well, he likes to kill people.
And he he didn't even give us a motivation.
There's no reason for him to try to kill him, at all. And that is a problem. And it's a gap.
No reason for anything. I understand nothing about this character. What motivates him? What's important to him? Who knows? All that's important to him is, oh, I have an order. I guess I'm going to have to do it. I don't know what, like it was so boring. Another character that was grossly underdeveloped and is in all of these cases, it's like, if you would have given me something about this character, I would have liked it. I would have liked them. But what's his name's buddy? Monk's buddy, right? With the big tank.
Baz.
How many lines did that guy have? Like 4? Maybe? Right? Like interesting to look at, really cool. I didn't get anything out of him. And so there were so many times in this movie where I listened to him, or I was watching something, didn't care about the characters, didn't care about what was going on, and then just like there was no emotional connection with any of these characters. They were super boring, and therefore when things were really exciting and they're going to get the Death Star plans, but we know we're going to get the Death Star plans, but I didn't care about what was going to happen to these people because they hadn't established that emotional connection earlier in the movie. That was my biggest issue with it. Whereas in when I go back to The Force Awakens, the reason why I compare it to The Force Awakens was because when you have those moments in the snow where it's Kylo Ren versus Finn and Rey, you care about all 3 of these characters because you got a dang good reason why you should root against Kylo Ren and root for Finn and Rey. And that never existed in this movie.
And an equally concerning reason to care about Kylo Ren himself too.
Exactly. Yes.
And that's important there too. And it's as a war film and as something I'd like to watch again, I enjoyed Rogue One a lot.
The action was amazing. The action was really good. It looked great.
The universe is amazing. They showed us things that I was like, that is really interesting. Please continue. Like the Force monks, right? Like, please just keep adding to the Star Wars universe in this way.
Yeah.
But
it's not to simply say, hey, look, Force monk, I am one with the Force is one with me, I am one with the Force is one with me, and that be enough. Like, you've got to make these characters interesting. You've got to...
No, I agree.
Here's my question, and I'm going to throw this out there and see what you guys think is, could it be that part of the distaste from this comes from the fact that there was so much variance in this from a normal Star Wars movie?
Variance in what sense?
And what I mean by that is like small little differences you may not notice until they begin to add up. John Williams did not do the score for this movie.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. Score.
There's one.
Yeah.
There was no opening title crawl.
I can deal with that.
There was no there was none of that. There was there was tons of little things that you get with a saga movie, Episode 7, that you didn't get with this movie.
I think what is the issue, Marty, is that there was a lot of Star Wars stuff that was in here that made it really awesome and a cool Star Wars movie. The things that they took out from what I think a good way to describe a saga movie, they didn't replace it with anything substantial. Like, there's nothing new to this movie isn't necessarily contributing anything new and innovative and creative and positive to the Star Wars universe. It's simply taking some stuff and we'll flesh that out and we'll make it a little bit more detailed, but we're not adding anything new. Like the music.
I liked the music.
I was going to say I hated the music. I think that...
Oh, wow. Okay.
Here's the thing with the music, is that the music, I don't know if you've ever seen like a lot of like a good example is the YouTube channel How It Should Have Ended will always have music that sounds like whatever music it comes from, but it's always a little bit different. And it's like
because they have to for copyright reasons.
Right, for copyright reasons, exactly.
They'll have like 2 or 3 notes that sound right, and then instead of going up a third, it'll go down a fourth, and it'll be like, whoa, that's
yeah. It's like, I recognize this. I know what you're going for. You're riffing on this a little bit, but it's not quite it. right? And it kind of just is like, oh yeah, it's kind of, oh no, you almost pulled on my emotional heartstrings, but then you decided not to. Yeah, I think that's fair.
Well, they can't, but right.
I would argue that the variation in the score is what makes this interesting because it stands out as like a different kind of genre than the standard saga Star Wars films. I think it had to be a little bit different. This movie is very different than any other Star Wars movie we have. It's much darker. It's grittier. It's there's not really a lot of like happy feel good moments. This is the true honest part of the rebellion that we don't ever really see in the other Star Wars movies. And this, look, Star Wars always had, I hate to use this comparison because it sounds so stupid, but this really put like the concept of the war that's going on within the Star Wars universe into perspective. Versus like, sure, there's always, Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, and there's always, the light versus the dark, right? But there's always all these other people, and like even in Force Awakens, we see like an entire like all those balconies of those people blowing up, and you don't care about any of those people. And I will argue that I care more about the people that were getting destroyed by the Death Star in this movie than we cared about those people in Force Awakens.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a fair argument, and I think that is fair to say. And maybe this is how I took it, but I liked it being different, and it's why the Marvel movies and other things owned by Disney, like none of the Marvel movies fall under the same genres. That's why some of them are so good. Zach, a couple weeks ago, you mentioned that you didn't like Civil War in a sense that you didn't like the fact that it was a different tonal shift. And I would say, I think what made Civil War so amazing is that tonal shift. The ability that they were able to take that care and attention to flesh out this darker side of the fact that there are people dying and the Avengers are responsible for things in the way that, you care about every side. I think the fact that they were able to do that was really well done. And I think this is what these Star Wars spin-off films need to do, and maybe they can do them better than Rogue One did. But I'd like to see Star Wars universe movies in different genres, because there are so many things going on in the Star Wars universe that we do not see.
Here's my question. I want to go back to this from the podcast we just recorded. Would this be a good movie if you strip the Star Wars franchise off of it?
No, stop doing this, Marty. You can't.
Nope.
It's like saying Pokemon Go without Pokemon. Pokemon Go without Pokemon would have been stupid. And
no,
we all know it.
You say that you want Star Wars in different genres. That's a fair question.
I think to answer your question, I think that this movie relies much too heavily upon the Star Wars name, and I think that's. Hang on, I'm gonna let you finish. Hang on. So I was just gonna say, I think that that this movie, kind of going back to what I was saying before, that this movie takes what it wants from the Star Wars universe and uses that to drive the appeal of the movie. Like it's pulling from Darth Vader and all of the stuff, like as much as we can from the Star Wars franchise in order to get to win over the hearts and minds of the audience. But anything beyond that, it doesn't really bring a whole lot. Like it's not that compelling of a war movie. It's not like there's a few particular shots or different situations that are interesting. But for the most part, it's not like there's anything super groundbreaking, high stakes going on. That some of the characters are interesting, but most of the characters are pretty boring. I'd say without Star Wars, this movie would be much, much worse, and people would be much more comfortable criticizing it if it wasn't for Star Wars. And I think a lot of people are enjoying it because it is Star Wars, and that is another. That's not a good enough reason to enjoy it. And I definitely did enjoy it as a Star Wars movie, but beyond the Star Wars franchise, I think that it is pretty mediocre, if not just straight up boring for a lot of the movie without the Star Wars license.
I'd be
I don't
curious.
know what
I'd be curious to see it out of the Star Wars universe and see how I feel about it. Because maybe I want
like a boring war movie is what
I wondered if my expectations, though, the fact that it is a Star Wars movie, put it to such high stakes that I'm overly criticizing it as a war movie.
See, and I had such low expectations.
I wonder
low expectations for the movie.
Do any of you guys feel like it was kind of a one way ticket type of movie? Like, I mean, we know that since they were all dead in the end, but I mean, like, it
they
kind
all
of
died,
feels.
everybody. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert! They all die. If you've listened this long, by this point, we've duh. But like it just like it started and all it did was accelerate. Like the foot was on the gas the entire time. And there are some points where it's just like, God, you could have spent a little more time here. Like you were saying about the Force monks. Like, man, don't just give me like one of those. Don't just give me a little bit of that.
Like especially since they're right outside that temple, right? Like there's so many missed opportunities. There's missed opportunities at the temple. They never showed us Alderaan, which it's the only movie they're ever going to be able to show us Alderaan. And they never went to Alderaan. And like, when else are they ever going to do that? They never have, right. And now they never. Anyway, what were you going to say, Justin?
Well, how did Jin end up in jail? Right? Like, what's going on there? Right? There's a lot of questions, but I have completely forgot my train of thought 100%.
As for the Alderaan thing, what I think they had a concept art for what Alderaan might look like that they were used in the movies, but I think they repurposed a lot of those for Rebels and the previous animated show.
Clone Wars.
So I think they've pretty much they might have used up all of their backlog of reference material without having to make a new planet with new backdrops.
Yeah, but then then in the first like 15 minutes of this movie, they go to about 18 different planets, none of which I know anything about, right? And so why not? And I think that's a bigger part of this movie is that they jump around so much and there's so much going on. It's just boom, 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 boom. And if they just stop and slow down a minute and give us some time with these characters and give us some time to enjoy, like Marty, like you're saying with these Force monks, like this supposedly was, the planet that the first planet they blow up is supposedly like, that's where the freaking Jedi temple, like the where they get all their lightsaber crystals from, right? Like now, it's supposed to be this big, huge.
To be fair, there has been quite a bit of Jedi on Star Wars Rebels.
So in other words, watch Rebels.
That is not a good excuse for not. I don't want to have to go to a cartoon in order to care about this place in the movie. Well,
here's the thing. I think that in that they're appealing to the Star Wars fans. I mean, it's I think the thought process there is you're already have going to been watching Star Wars Rebels because the universe extends beyond just the movies.
Yeah, I would argue a very small percentage of Star Wars fans actually pays attention to the animations.
I've never seen any of that animated stuff.
Or I've watched damn near all of them. Though at the time I didn't know they were canonical, but now apparently they are. They are.
Here's the thing that I really kind of just makes me stand back and think about this movie. The origin, the connective tissue, the core starting point of this movie is a very single thrown away line in episode 4 saying there were great sacrifices to get this information. That's all that this basically connects to. So there's a very short one-liner basically in episode 4. And so we have someone go back and create what was this great sacrifice? What was this effort and work? And Gareth Edwards makes a compelling story and tale from a different perspective of people that we genuinely don't know, don't care about, in a universe that's a little bit grittier and different and more closely related to the actual rebellion and the fight, right? And then we ultimately, again, let's think about this. He has killed every single character in this movie, and this is a Disney movie, right? It's a Disney Star Wars movie. Let's take credit for that as well. He takes a different flair. I don't want Star Wars Episode 7.5, right? Let that be its own thing. But these standalone stories don't need to be in that. They're connected, but they don't need to be in the same arc, the same tone, the same look as all the other Star Wars. Let this be its own thing. Let a director and artist be creative and do something different. I think for the very first Star Wars story, this was well done.
I think, Justin, as I think part of what hamstrung this movie, hamstringed. Anyway, that part of the issue with this movie is that this was a war movie. It wanted to be a war movie, and I think if they would have, they never would do this. But if they would have done like a rated R version of this, not like hard R, but like a Matrix R. You know what I mean? Like something that is Justin's the only one who's going to get this, but like a 14A, right? Like where this is like the difference between a PG-13 movie that is very clearly PG-13 and 14A, which up here we don't have rated R. We have 14A and 18A. And 18A is like the hardcore, gory, whatever. 14A can be PG-13 or it can be R. And the rating system's different up here. I think that a 14A version of this movie that dared to be a little bit grittier, a little bit more realistic, a little bit harder would have been like, because I think this ultimately they did want to make a war movie. I think that the PG-13 rating, which this is only the second PG-13 Star Wars movie anyways. All the other ones have been PG. I think that actually really, it makes sense that they had to go PG-13, but I think that it ended up falling flat sometimes when they were trying to go a little too far.
Well, I think if they went a hard R or a really, a higher rating, then they would not have been able to sell the Gillette razor blades or the Rogue car vehicles or all the damn sponsorship and endorsement deals associated with this, which I think muddles the brand, and I actually think ruins a little bit of the perception of the film as well, because the amount of times I see damn shaving commercial or damn shaving razors for Gillette as part of a Star Wars stormtrooper and a rebellion, I'm getting slightly irritated. Could we not sell out every single thing for every single brand?
I'm sorry, Justin, but that's
rant off.
The world we live in.
Right? Yeah, but
okay. Let me go back just a bit, Justin. You brought up what is the most important point, right? For what this is.
You don't even know what you said yet.
It may not be. It may not be the greatest Star Wars movie we've ever gotten, and it may not be the greatest war film we ever gotten, but it is something different, and it does deserve a lot of credit for that. It's not conventional Star Wars, and the fact that it isn't is important. Whether it was amazing, it wasn't, but I enjoyed it a lot, and I had a good time at that movie. And I don't, if I'm coming off negative at all because I don't feel like maybe the characters were underdeveloped, but I want to see more of these things. I want them to explore the Star Wars universe. And if it means making a crime drama where, somebody steals a ship from somebody who we've never heard of, I don't care. Make it and find out if it's good. And it deserves to be explored. Maybe it'll be hot garbage, and that's fine. But at least try.
But it will sell a lot of razors and make money at the box office.
Well, and you got to say too that if it had gone with the hard R or whatever, or even had been more of kind of a graphic war movie, could they have sold so many children's toys?
I think it is quite graphic for what it is.
Here's what my point was with saying is I think that the direction that they were trying to take the movie was the wrong direction. I think that doing a hard war movie was not the right direction if they were going to stick to a PG-13 rating. I think that direction, in order to pull it off correctly, needs to be R. I think what they should have done instead is do more of a heist type movie or something like that, where it's not about we have to storm the beach and all of that. Instead, what you're doing is you're doing more of a, more of like a, I don't know if this comparison has been made before. I can't remember who it was, but like an Ocean's 11 or something like that. You know what I mean? Where it's more of like we're going to break into this highly secured thing or whatever. And of course there's going to be space battles and whatever, but you can do that kind of a mission in a way where it's not just a war movie and it's Saving Private Ryan in space, right? I think Saving Private Ryan in space that concept needs to be harder, in like more graphic or more violent in order to pull it off. Whereas there are other ways they could have approached this material that would have been more appropriate to the rating they were going for.
Okay, as the number one parenting gaming podcast on the internet, did you guys take all your kids to this?
I'm not
curious.
I will not take my son to this.
No,
movie.
not my daughters. No, they're still having a hard time. They're still having a hard time with Force Awakens.
I did take my children to this movie.
My kids
How old are they again, Marty?
9 and 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how did that go?
They freaking loved it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would take my kids to it if they were 9 and 8. I should say that.
My daughter walked out of the theater talking about Jen Erso nonstop.
Okay.
She loves that character, just like she loved Rey.
Okay.
Which,
she's a kid.
If I had not been on board the Rey train before Force Awakens, when we walked out of the theater that night and she was like, I want to be Rey. I want to, it was like making, lightsaber fighting sounds and stuff. That sealed the deal for me. I totally got it.
Let's take a quick pause there. Another female protagonist kicking A.
Yep.
Awesome. Yep. Well done.
Yeah. And
thank you, Disney. Thank you. Because Moana wasn't that great.
What?
Filthy mouth.
That's a different cast. That's a different spoiler cast. We're not doing that one.
No, Roger's going to be after David.
There may be words. Oh my gosh.
Holy.
I don't know if I can even. You've just thrown my train of thought.
Should we just tell Roger not to listen this week? Because he's going to get upset at someone.
Oh, man.
If you're going to say anything else about Moana, just don't.
Okay, well, this is a Star Wars show, but I got my point.
All right. But my kids loved it. I will say this, we took our kids to see that, and the other recent movie that we've been to see is Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
Okay.
And there were, to me as a parent, there were more moments that made my kids scared in the theater or jumpy in the theater in Fantastic Beasts than there were in this movie.
Now I've seen both. That's curious. The thing that concerns me, and this is obviously I don't have kids, right? Is that reaction to the fact that everybody died. Like, did that have any impact?
Yes, it did.
Okay.
I asked my son as we were leaving, I said, what did you think? And he looks at me and he goes, it was okay. And I said, just okay, not Force Awakens great or whatever. And he said, well, they all died, and like,
see, that's what I'm worried. That's my biggest concern with it.
But it was cool because I got on the way home, which we had a pretty good long drive because of where we went to see the movie. We got to talk about, like Star Wars lore and, why this was important. And so that was a cool parenting moment.
So
Go ahead, Zach.
I was just going to say that it was something completely off topic. So what were you going to say?
I was going to say to that is there's another important point here with the fact that everybody died at the end. Despite enjoying the movie, nobody really walks out happy.
No.
And you're not supposed to. And I think that is maybe causing some of the criticisms that we're having. Maybe just a little bit is saying that nobody walks out with like I just saw a Star Wars movie. It was awesome. No, we all walk out like, That was depressing. Like,
well, and like the thing is,
I think that matters.
Yeah, I think what you're getting at is that the way that we kind of understood this sacrifice that these characters were going to be making, that this was a great they sacrificed their lives, they saved the rebellion, and all that stuff. They are the ones who are responsible for the destruction of the Death Star, and yet in that moment, you don't feel the gravity of what they have achieved and how important it is. You don't really get to see that. You don't hear any of it. You just see some sort of silly putty Play-Doh version of Princess Leia saying something about hope, and then whatever, she's off and it's done, right? And which, by the way, she looked terrible.
I don't think so, but
she looked like
if you're gonna draw a comparison between her and Tarkin, she definitely looked worse than Tarkin. Like, she had this weird glow about her, the model. Tarkin, at least you had to be looking for it to be,
But you only saw her up close.
I think honestly, for the most part, I think it's the texture or the sheen of the skin on both models for one, and it also looked like her eyes were freaking like too big or something. I don't know what it was. She had Disney eyes, which was freaking me out. I haven't seen. I haven't seen a CGI render of a character that bad since X-Men Origins Wolverine with Patrick Stewart. That is how off-putting that looked to me. If you haven't seen, go back and look at Patrick Stewart in X-Men
What's
Origins.
funny about that to me is that though the CGI characters were not the off-putting thing to me in the movie,
Tarkin wasn't bad.
Tarkin wasn't bad. In fact, when he was reflected in the glass, it was pretty dang near the real actor. The part that threw me off the most and took me out of the movie was the scene on Mustafar with Krennic and Vader's last line. It was so bad.
You know what, though?
He was bad.
He was in the original trilogy. He was pretty snarky and dumb too. Like, he was not.
But here's the thing: he was snarky and dumb, but he was not dad jokes Vader.
I disagree, but that's fine. I don't think it did not pull me out. I'll say that it did not pull me out of the movie.
Compared to take the nostalgia out of the quote of something like, "I find your lack of faith disturbing," or something like that, where it's like he's like. I feel like it was on par with some of those lines. Yeah. But I
thought Vader was surprisingly well done.
I don't know why.
The last like 2 minutes where he decided to kick some serious A in that hallway and just wreck everyone was epic.
It was
the original.
If they had cut out the Mustafar scene and just left that in there, I think he would have had even more impact.
So in episode 4, does Vader have red eyes?
Yes.
He does? Like,
no,
is he always
what I was saying was, I thought you were talking about this movie. Yes. No, he has black eyes.
I was going to say, why
pieces are black.
Movie?
Disney is pushing for a movie, and if you haven't noticed this, even before Disney, Lucasfilm was pushing for a more reddish black eyepiece in the Vader helmet. I don't know why.
It doesn't look good. That's not what the original thing was, and it looked like the weird red eyes.
You could see his eyes behind it.
It's terrible. I
didn't care for it.
Yeah,
they're like those old blue blocker sunglasses my grandparents used to have, except their Vader helmet.
Nice.
Yeah, exactly. So is there anything else? It is like 1:11 a.m. where I am. Dave's like, it's 3 a.m. where Dave is.
Stop it, Justin. Zach, stop it.
Is there anything else we haven't talked about that we need to talk about before we wrap up? Or is everybody like, I've been on podcasting for 4 hours, I need to go to bed? Yes.
I want my last comment.
Oh, okay.
I liked it a lot more than everybody in this room, I think.
I enjoyed it. I don't know if I'd go back and watch it again.
I think
you
I
know
need
what?
to go watch it again.
I almost went back and watched it with a friend.
I'm going again with my co-host from Character Crunch. Going again.
I'm still wanting to see it again. I haven't seen it with my kids yet. I don't know what their level of interest is. But,
I would rather go and see, like I'm at the point where I could go and take my son to a movie. I would rather take him, for me and for him, I would rather take him to Doctor Strange before it leaves theaters than to this.
Yeah, but I don't want to take a kid to Everybody Dies happy ending.
Yeah, but even for me, like I would rather go and see Doctor Strange again before I'd see Rogue One again.
Oh.
I know they're totally different films, and
I like Doctor Strange a lot, but I don't know about that.
In my case, youngest is 15, so it really that argument doesn't exist for my family.
Yeah, and again, it has nothing to do with kids. It has to do with just stuff. So, anyways, I think with that, everybody, I'm gonna get their music again. Here's some of our generic bad guy music from this movie.
It's not bad. It's different, Shaq. It's just different. Stop hating things because they're different.
I know. Okay. Well, with that, everybody, thank you for listening to another episode of Nintendo Dads After Dark. If you want to follow us on all the social medias, you can do so: Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram at Nintendo Dads. You can find us on VGTribune.com. Change the world by leaving us a review on iTunes.
Thank you for listening to Nintendo Dads.